Within Maasai people communities, power does not exist only in rituals or councils of elders. It is also present in the everyday tasks repeated day after day, often carried by women. And it is through this quiet continuity that community life is kept running. The hunt begins before the sun climbs high. The savannah is still cold, the grass wet with dew, and a herd of wildebeest is visible in the distance. No one runs. No one raises their voice. Everything unfolds in silence. The Maasai people stand at a distance, watching the herd as a single moving mass. What they see is not individual animals, but a dense, continuous flow spreading across the plains. Every shift, no matter how small, happens at the level of the entire herd. On this land, even a slight disturbance in the shared rhythm can be enough to end the hunt.
Little gazelles.
Once a target is chosen, they move, step by step. There is no sudden charge. No display. The hunt is a prolonged process where patience matters more than strength. Wildebeest are strong, resilient, and quick to react. To close the distance, the hunter must ration every breath. There is only the sound of grass breaking underfoot, breathing growing heavier, and the gap narrowing very slowly. Each step is calculated. Too early, and the prey melts back into the herd. Too late, and the chance slips away. When the spear is finally thrown, it is not an impulsive moment. It is the result of hours of watching, moving, and waiting. In this hunt, success or failure is not decided by a single strike, but by everything that came before it. Hunting wildebeest, for the Masai, is not a test of bravado. It is a survival practice, one that requires accepting the rhythm of the savannah, understanding one's own limits, and facing risk directly. Nothing is guaranteed. From a distance, a wildebeest hunt may appear to be a display of strength, skill, and male roles. But behind every moment when men leave, there is another system that remains, resilient, constant, and far less visible. And it leads us to a larger question: where does power in Maasai society truly reside? Subscribe and join us as we look for the answer. When talking about power in Maasai people communities, what usually comes to mind first are images of elders, community meetings, or symbolic rituals. These are spaces where power is visibly expressed, who is allowed to speak, who makes decisions, and who represents the group in important matters.
So they migrate from here because of the drought.
This form of power is easy to recognize because it is tied to position, role, and ceremony. It has visibility, structure, and order. And in most cases, it is power held by men.
Nani jaba segari ni Lord Maasai. Nyagu dore na rene. Amorona kiti yoga tu.
Because of this, when viewed from the outside, it is easy to conclude that Maasai women hold little power in community life. But this is only the surface layer of power, the part we are used to seeing and used to naming.
Mimi leo nimesimama hapa na nataka nyinyi wote watu wa Homa Bay msikie hii.
When we step away from rituals and into everyday life, another form of power gradually comes into view. It is not tied to titles or official voices, but exists in how life is sustained day by day. Masai women are the ones who hold the rhythm of the community. They prepare food, care for children, maintain living spaces, and ensure that family life does not break apart. When men move with livestock, a familiar part of nomadic life, it is women who remain behind, keeping the community present and alive in place. This power does not appear in meetings. It is not announced or celebrated. Yet without it, all the visible structures of power above would fail to function. There would be no one to care for the next generation, no one to maintain daily rhythms, no foundation for those important decisions to have meaning. Maasai women also hold forms of knowledge that are deeply ordinary, yet profoundly important. They know which families are struggling, which children are unwell, who needs help. They sense changes in the weather, whether the dry season is arriving earlier, whether water sources will be enough. This knowledge does not exist in books, is not recorded, and does not appear in any ritual. Yet it shapes how the community responds to uncertainty. It can be understood as operational power, the kind of power that allows a society to adapt, adjust, and continue to survive. What matters is that when speaking about Maasai women, they should not be seen only as voiceless victims. The reality is far more complex. They may not stand at the center of visible power, but they are not passive. Their influence flows through daily life, through relationships, and through roles that cannot be replaced. Their silence is not necessarily absence. In many cases, it is a way of existing shaped over time within a particular social structure. Here, we tell stories that are not always seen. Subscribe if you'd like to continue exploring them, stories of the Maasai people and beyond. In recent years, the lives of the Maasai people have been changing more rapidly than before. More children are attending school, and both men and women are increasingly engaging with towns, money-based economies, and ways of life beyond the traditional community. Along with these shifts, the way power is understood has also begun to change.
First, then you take something like this. The main part, yeah. That's the main part of the lion. Yeah? And the others will take the clothes, the teeth. You can see inside it's more cool. Yeah? So we're going to go there and see the dances. But before that, they also do the milking. Men, they do the fence.
In the modern world, power is often associated with education, public voice, and the ability to represent oneself in society. These forms of power closely resemble visible power, easier to measure, easier to recognize, and easier to name. And clearly, as this structure becomes more important, Maasai women are beginning to be seen more often in new roles. But this change also raises another question, one that is rarely spoken aloud. When women leave the village space to study, work, or take part in new social structures, the tasks that sustain everyday life do not simply disappear. They are either shifted onto others, treated as secondary, or quietly fade from attention.
They are telling me why didn't I wear when coming here?
Yes.
Masai clothes.
Why didn't you wear them?
Because I didn't know if I'll find them. You know, it's a big pot because there are many. That's why they push a big pot. This is how they cook tea. First of all, this is water.
The operational form of power, the kind that once allowed Maasai people communities to endure across generations, begins to blur in collective awareness. Not because it is no longer important, but because it does not fit the way we are used to measuring value. Work that does not generate income, carry titles, or appear in meetings is gradually labeled as supportive or secondary. This shift is not entirely good or bad. But it reveals that when a society begins to prioritize one form of power, another can be overlooked, even when that overlooked power was once foundational. Subscribe to explore more stories about what keeps tribal communities alive. When looking at the story of Maasai women, it's easy to think of it as the story of a community different from us. But in reality, it closely reflects how modern societies operate today. We are used to celebrating those who speak the most, appear the most, and can represent themselves publicly. Meanwhile, those who sustain everyday life, through care, organization, and keeping things running, are rarely seen as powerful. Power, in common understanding, is often equated with visibility. The story of the Maasai people shows that power does not exist only at the center of attention. It also lives in places that receive little notice, yet if they disappear, the entire system begins to falter.
Yes.
Yeah, now. Kind.
Yeah.
So that's how we used to eat in the morning until evening. That's the next. Can I take this home?
Yeah.
Wow.
In Maasai people communities, power is not concentrated in a single place. It does not exist only in rituals or councils of elders, but is distributed across many different roles in everyday life. If we look only at what is most visible, we see displayed power, collective decisions, established rules, and those with official voices in the community. This form of power is clear, structured, and often associated with men.
Sitaki kuenda nitaonyeshana. This is a chicken house. Coming back to our village.
You joined?
Yeah.
You joined a school.
I joined the school. Then after there, I stayed here for 4 years.
Alongside it, however, exists another form of power, quieter, yet essential, the power that keeps life running. Maasai women hold this power. They sustain the rhythm of family and community life, care for children, prepare food, and ensure that daily life continues even as conditions change.
And this is my family members, my relatives, my neighbors. So they have joined me to meet with
In a nomadic society shaped by uncertainty, these tasks form the foundation. When men move with livestock, it is women who remain behind, preventing the community from breaking apart and passing on lived knowledge across generations. This kind of power does not appear in rituals, nor is it publicly celebrated. Yet it is present every day, and only fully noticed in its absence. It reveals that in Maasai society, power is not only something granted, but something continuously practiced to keep collective life functioning. The story of Maasai women shows that a community survives not only because of those who are seen, but also because of the quiet rules behind the scenes. Exploring culture is sometimes not about searching for what feels unfamiliar, but about learning to look more deeply at what we think we already know. If this perspective feels worth reflecting on, subscribe to our channel. Who knows, it might open up another conversation about how people live together, the Maasai people included.